Welcome to Psychos and Sociopaths. Today we're going to divvy into something that I just found out this weekend. Uh, it's about Robert Durst. He was a real estate mogul. And basically, if you watch the documentary on HBO Max, it's called The Jinx. He literally told everybody that he murdered his wife.
Yeah.
He forgot. Okay, the spoiler alert on this one, and you can look at this on YouTube. Look at the thing. I don't know how true this is because even the filming director, after it was all done for the court case and everything, which is still happening, they had to stop it because of COVID, and now they're having it again. They started in like May 2001, and
Are you talking about the first wife, Kathleen McCormick? Yeah,
yeah.
they originally
Well,
classified it.
there's three victims.
Yeah,
But basically, what happened is he did this documentary called The Jinx because a lot of people died on him, and he's richer than rich as sin. I think his net worth is like $4 billion,
yeah.
and he went to go use the restroom, and he still had the mic on, and he basically said that he murdered his wife. He even admitted that it's really strange because his brother went against him on saying that he watched his mother died with his father. The Robert Durst said that his father held him while his mother fell down the window or something like that.
Yeah. Like we said last week, that hot mic will get you.
Yes.
But yeah, he
Luckily, I do the editing, so I can edit that shit out if we say anything messed up like that.
right.
It's like, dude,
Right.
again with the.
Write a book if I did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's suspected of
does
murdering
that.
three. Yeah, right. Kathleen McCormick Durst, who was his first wife, disappeared in New York in 1982. Susan Berman, his longtime friend, who was killed in Los Angeles in 2000, and his neighbor Morris Black, who was killed in Texas in 2001. He became the subject of a multi-state manhunt after Black's body parts were found floating in Galveston Bay. Although he admitted to dismembering Black, he was acquitted of murdering him on grounds of self-defense. So,
I still like his defense right now. Oh, when I had the mic on me, I was on meth. That was his.
so you were high as a hippie in a helicopter trying to fly a kite in a courtroom. Yeah, that's
Well, the
so much
psychologist
better.
said he's schizophrenic.
Yeah, but
So
the last time I checked, meth is not a.
it is a truth serum
While it may be a truth serum to an extent,
because you'll
it's not
basically
exactly one of those things that you equate to as a treatment for psychosomatic disorders.
no, it's a truth serum to the basic fact of you'll basically admit about anything when you're on meth.
I love this is a 1953 psychiatrist report on 10-year-old Robert mentioned personality decomposition. That is an interesting term.
Personality decomposition.
Yeah, let me see if I can look that up here real quick.
Yeah, because that what does that mean exactly? That his personality is inside of his head, just basically gave up and is like, you know what? One of us did it inside his head. We're just trying to figure out which one to kill.
Now, according to the experts that we have available to us on the interwebs via Reddit, it says, what is personality decomposition? Somebody asked, can you explain this in layman terms? Let me see here.
It just reminds me of that one time someone asked me why my nose is bleeding. I told him one of my personalities beating up the other personalities, and he died. And no, I had to talk to my
From that scene of Liar Liar, I just beat the shit. What are you doing? I'm beating the shit out of myself.
no. What's really sad is that I had to talk to my manager, and he asked, he's like, "Did you say this?" I was like, "Yeah." She actually believes that. I was like, "No shit."
Yeah. Um, there's really not a lot of information about what personality decomposition is. Um,
It's a fancy word that
yeah, let me see here. And I should have had this queued up earlier, but let me see here.
but
Yeah, I mean, I mean, this is one of the few times where the internet's let us down. Um, I mean, but anytime, like, if you type in personality or decomposition, you will see links for Robert Durst,
yeah.
but it doesn't explain what it is. Um, so let me do this here.
While you're doing that, let me go in here and see if I can find anything. Oh, that was another thing. Is his first wife's family,
Mm-hmm.
the three sisters and the mother, are suing him for $100 million.
Yeah.
For
Okay,
that.
so on, let's see here,
Still nothing.
meritwebproject.com. There's an article, borderline personality disorder or personality style and disorder. The essential feature of borderline personality disorder is a pervasive pattern of instability of interpersonal relationships, self-image, and effects, and marked impulsivity. When a full personality disorder can be diagnosed, there is every indication that the family of origin was a place of excessive chaos. The chaos may have included extreme forms of physical, emotional, and sexual abuse, even conditions that might be considered torturous. These conditions may be indicated by the client's desire to mutilate themselves in some way, i.e., cutting themselves. But it really doesn't give anything about like the decomposition portion of that diagnosis. So it just,
I still think it's a made-up term.
I do. I think it's for lack of a better term, I think it was a psychiatrist's attempt to get published in the New England Medical Journal. So, given it was the 50s, we were still doing electroshock therapy back then. Oh, speaking of electroshock therapy,
Even back then, they were still doing the lobotomy
yeah.
up until like 1976.
Well, you know that there was a federal ban on electroshock therapy for people with like autism and things of that nature, right? A federal court overturned that decision and made it and said it is a viable treatment for autism again. Me as a child as a parent of a child on the spectrum, that pisses me off because these individuals that have the challenge of autism, whether it's high functioning or low functioning, they're not damaged. They're challenged individuals, pure, plain, and simple. Their brains process information differently than you and I, than yours and I do. Yours and I's. That's proper English. But their brains process information on a different scale, on a different wavelength than everybody else's does. That doesn't make them defective, doesn't make them damaged. It just gives them an additional challenge that you and I otherwise wouldn't have. And to think that we're going to hook electrodes up to them and make them bite down on a mouthpiece while we sit there and just shock their frontal lobes, you're going to do nothing but create not only physical damage, but you're going to create cerebral damage, and you're going to create emotional trauma. I mean, how's that going to be helpful?
That's not. That's that. We have a lot of treatments that are stupid, ridiculous.
Because I will guarantee you this much: if a doctor came to me or my ex-wife and said, "Hey, your 10-year-old child, even though he's just got Asperger's and he's very high functioning, we believe that we can cure it, or we can curb the effects of his Asperger's by giving him electroshock therapy," I promise you, I'll catch a charge.
Oh yeah.
I will straight punch that doctor square in the mouth. And if that's a physical, physical intervention, I'll just call it that, is not the preferred method, I will go out of my way to make sure that that doctor loses his or her license.
Yeah, I would too.
Because I mean, as a parent, I will defend my kids up to including the cost of my own life. You can chisel that one in stone. Put it down on record. That's happening. But getting back to Mr. Durst here.
Well, the first victim of his, in the fall of 1971, Durst met Katie McClurk, McCormick, a medical student. After 2 dates, he invited Katie, to share his home in Vermont, where he had opened a health food store. She moved there in 1972. However, Durst's father pressured him to move back to New York to work in the family business. The couple returned to Manhattan, where they married in 1973. Durst's 30th birthday.
Yeah, April 12th in 73,
30th.
which is the year that he turned 30. McCormick was a student in her fourth and final year at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine in the Bronx, studying to be a pediatrician when she disappeared. She was only a few months short of earning her degree, and McCormick was last seen by someone other than Durst on the evening of January 31st of 1982, when she appeared unexpectedly at a dinner party thrown by her friend Gilbert Namje in Newton, Connecticut. Namje noticed that McCormick was upset and wearing red sweatpants, which Namje found odd. McCormick had often dressed in much higher quality clothing. She later left for her marital home in South Salem, New York, after a phone call from her husband. Although the couple argued and fought that evening, Durst maintained that he put his wife on a commuter train to New York City at Katona Station, had a drink with a neighbor, and spoke to his wife at their Manhattan apartment by telephone later that night. That's what I told police, Durst later told a documentary filmmaker. I was hoping that would just make everything go away. After McCormick left Namje's house, she was supposed to have met Namje at a pub called the Lions Gate in Manhattan. And when she failed to show up, Namje became concerned and repeatedly called the police for several days. Late days later, Durst filed a missing persons report as well. A doorman at the building, and the building superintendent at the couple's apartment on Riverside Drive claimed to have seen McCormick there on February 1st, the day after she was last indisputably seen. But the doorman also said that he had seen her only from behind and from half a block away and couldn't be certain that it was actually her. A private investigator hired by Durst's own criminal lawyer later reported that the doorman had not seen McCormick arrive at all and may not have been working the night that she disappeared. She was treated at a Bronx hospital for facial bruises 3 weeks before her disappearance. She told a friend that Durst beat her but did not press charges over the incident, and McCormick asked Durst for a $250,000 divorce settlement. Instead, he canceled her credit card, removed her name from a joint bank account, and refused to pay for her medical school tuition. At the time McCormick disappeared, Durst had been dating Prudence Farrow for 3 years and was living in a separate apartment. He initially offered $100,000 for his wife's return, then reduced the reward to $15,000. Wow, what a guy. Only 3 weeks after Durst reported McCormick missing, the superintendent of Riverside Drive apartment found her possessions in the building's trash compactor. When one of her friends and her sister found out that she had been reported missing, they broke into her cottage hoping to find her. Instead, they found the place ransacked and McCormick's mail left unopened and her belongings all in the trash.
So basically, he was cheating on her when she was married. She was trying to get out of the marriage and everything, and he was just, you can't leave me.
Yeah, see, that's the problem with a lot of people, men and women both. When they get money, they think that they're above the law. They think that they're
That's
above
not even
moral.
money. Money, you can take money out
True,
of the
but
equation.
high-profile things like that. I mean, if she's asking him for a $250,000 divorce, even in the '80s, dude, that was a lot of money.
Yeah,
That's
a lot
just
of
short
money,
of $1 million nowadays.
But in all reality, if you look at it this way, you take money out of the equation. It was a controlling factor.
Yeah.
He wanted to do whatever he wanted. He didn't care about her. She knew this. She wanted a divorce. She wanted out of the situation. She wanted out. She was trying to get out of a brutal situation, and he just wouldn't do it
Right.
because he was a douchebag.
Well, everybody knew that. I mean, we can obviously see that in hindsight, but
Yeah.
um, let me see here.
But
8 years after her disappearance, Durst actually divorced her, claiming spousal abandonment. Um, and when you look at this, and we keep talking about it, and even with our how to defend against a serial murder episode that we had last week. I mean, this guy, classic narcissist. He's like, I'm the best thing that's ever happened to you. I get my cake and eat it too, but you have to live under lock and key because you're trash. And then if anything goes south, it's always the other person's fault. Because
Well, she wasn't trash. She was already going
I
to
know
medical school.
I'm not saying she was. I'm saying that that's his point of view, and that's probably
Well, no,
well, just by the fact that he filed for divorce and was granted the divorce under grounds of spousal abandonment. I mean, that's him putting all the problems in the marriage on her.
Yeah.
Now, to this date, she has not been found. In May of this year, the investigators reclassified her disappearance as a murder, and they're now reopening the investigation. So,
I wonder how that's going to work out when you don't have a body.
I think at this point, even if they were to find the body,
Well, he did already confess to it. So
well, he did confess to it, so I think that that's what they're going off of. However, like you said, without the supporting evidence of the quote-unquote smoking gun of a body, there's still going to be things like forensic evidence, even though it's been like 20 years plus. Well, it's been like 30 years since she disappeared. Because she disappeared in 81, right?
Yeah.
So it's been 30 years, okay? 80 to 90, 90 to 0, and then, so it's been 30 years. 40, no, so it's been 44, well, yeah, it's been 30 years. So, we're looking at, because they're constantly solving cold cases more nowadays, okay? And they're using forensic evidences, they're using physical evidence. The only thing that they don't have, like you said, is the body. So that's going to be the one thing. Now they can try him for murder. If by some stroke of miracle that she shows up alive, well, assuming a fake name, obviously the murder charge would get dropped. But at the same time, they do have, for all intents and purposes, an uncoerced, coerced, that's the word I'm looking for, an uncoerced admission by Durst, given to us by that hot mic in that courtroom bathroom. Even if he said he was under meth at the time, like you said, there's that old adage that what you say under the influence is what you really mean.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't see him getting out of that. It's up to the prosecution at that time, at this point, the investigating team and the prosecution to connect the dots to make it sound as possibly airtight as they can. Now, if they drop the ball on this and he gets off on a technicality, hey, honestly, I hate it for the McCormick family. But just like with other cases that we have profiled, like with the Kaylee Anthony thing, the Casey Anthony, the prosecution team that was investigating Casey Anthony, they couldn't hang the kid's murder, the daughter Kaylee's murder on Casey because they dropped the ball. The investigating team, the prosecution team for this particular for the McCormick case, they have the opportunity to get it right, and I pray that they're able to do that.
Well, they've had an extra year on this because of COVID.
True. Now, whether or not they've all taken the year off, like most branches of government have, if they did, shame on them. I mean, they need to be doing their due diligence on this because, I mean, the evidence that they've already got it's already getting old. It's any DNA evidence. I mean, they may still be able to pull trace amounts of DNA on things that might or might not be out there. And I can't tell that face that you were making was either a look of disgust or, I was going to say it's either that or it's an attempt to suppress a yawn.
Yeah.
But thank you for not doing an open mouth yawn, because those things are contagious. So
those are.
I mean, even though Mythbusters proved that they weren't physically, but still, I think it's a psychosomatic response. But
it really is a psychosomatic response.
The investigation for the McCormick case became public in November 2000. Now, there was a wrongful death lawsuit filed by McCormick's sister, Carol Bamonte.
That was all three sisters, I think.
Yeah, they just
and the mother.
This article just names the sister, but that was filed in August of 2019. The death date for McCormick has been changed to be most likely at the time that she disappeared in '82 due to murder instead of the previous determination of '87 for a missing person. So
now the one thing that's probably going to hang them up on to dry on this is the killing and dismemberment of Morris Black, because they found everything for that one.
Yeah, they did, but
they found the body. The police searched his rental car, yielding $37,000 in cash, 2 guns, marijuana, Black's driver's license, a direction to the Gilbert Najim home in Connecticut, and Durst used his time to stalk his brother Douglas. So I guess he was going to kill his brother too.
Well, here's the thing. That could have a multiple outcome with one fell swoop. If Durst cooperates with the authorities and leads them to her body, that's going to do a couple of things. That's going to give the investigators an opportunity to do a forensic autopsy to determine the actual cause of death, whether it be through strangulation or whatever. I mean, even if it's just at this point skeletal remains, which, let's all be honest, that's what they're going to have. They should be able to determine at some point if he strangled her, there's going to be damage to the cervical vertebra.
Yeah.
Okay. If it was any other cause of death, there's going to be markings on the bones, either in the rib cage, the skull. I mean, they'll be able to examine the skeletal remains and determine an actual cause of death.
I don't know that long. It's one of those things that an animal could have gotten if it's buried pretty good.
If he buried her pretty decently, yeah. But they would be able to determine what was done post-mortem or not. Okay. They've got tricks or not tricks. They have methods upon which they can determine mortem or post-mortem. So
that's the forensic.
And I don't even know if I'm applying that properly, but
the forensic science is always amazes me a lot.
Now the court of public opinion. I can speak. I promise. Just like we discussed with the Kaylee Anthony case, that they've got that CSI syndrome, where they give forensic scientists a lot more credit than they actually have, just based on the limits of technology that we have in place versus CSI Miami, which was the superior CSI show. Anyways, I digress.
I couldn't stand that show.
Oh, I loved it, especially you get that meme with Horatio Caine. He's standing there over the body, and you got Diego. He's like, "Well, Lieutenant, there was traces of semen found in the victim's ear," and then you see Horatio go, "Well, I guess you can say that the victim puts on his sunglasses and goes, saw the murderer coming." And yet, you get the opening with the anyways.
What?
We're getting back. You never saw okay, you always had that dramatic pause.
I've seen that.
It was a meme.
Yeah, I know it was a meme, and I've actually seen a couple of episodes, and yeah, he did it way too much.
Yeah,
it was so bad it made it into an episode of Supernatural. Okay.
And if you remember, they actually turned it into an episode of Phineas and Ferb.
Yeah, I know.
That was a great episode. That was a great show. But So the court of public opinion needs to kind of sit back and let the investigating team do what it needs to do. Now, the McCormick family stands to get closure from this, especially if he does say, yes, I did kill her, here's where she's buried. At least at this point, they'll be able to, one, pin down a definitive date of death. Two, there'll be a smoking gun so they can test the body forensically to, the remains to see what caused the death, when the death was, and things of that nature. The McCormick family has the opportunity to have an actual body to bury, and it will give them absolute closure. And this might be the nail in the in the coffin for Mr. Durst to actually get the death penalty. Now, you know what? And to be honest, I don't think New York has the death penalty anymore. But regardless, the guy's never going to see the light of day as a free man again. But the investigating team has the opportunity to close this out on as positive a note as possible, and that is to give the McCormick family absolute closure by having a body to bury, so that when they go to the cemetery, they're not visiting an empty grave.
Yeah.
But then there's Susan Berman, his second victim, a longtime friend who had facilitated his public alibi after McCormick disappeared. Was the daughter of David Berman, a reputed gangster who in the late 40s operated the Flamingo Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. So he's one of those old school gangsters, right? On November 24th of 2000, Berman was found murdered execution style in her home in Benedict County, Los Angeles. After her neighbors called the police to report that her back door was open and her 3 fox terriers were loose. A few days later, the Beverly Hills Police Department received a handwritten note postmarked December 23rd, which contained Berman's address and the word cadaver. Durst is known to have been in Northern California days before Berman was killed and to have flown from San Francisco to New York the night before Berman's body was discovered. Berman had recently received $50,000 from Durst in 2 payments, although Durst confirmed to the LAPD that he had sent Berman $25,000 and faxed investigators a copy of her 82 deposition regarding his missing wife. He declined to further be questioned about the murder. He did say in a 2005 deposition that Berman called him shortly before her death to say that the LAPD wanted to talk to her about McCormick's disappearance. So, with this one, I think he was covering his ass. Because that was probably the only person that was alive that could actually tie him to the McCormick murder before he hot-mic'd himself. But let me see here. A study of case notes by The Guardian, which is a newspaper, cast doubt on whether the LAPD had made such a call or whether then Winchester County District Attorney Jana Perino had scheduled an interview with Berman at all. Durst went into hiding and moved to Galveston, Texas in 2000, disguising himself as a woman to avoid police inquiries. It's funny that he took that route. I mean, that's kind of that's an odd choice.
No, sometimes you gotta dress up like he probably watched what was that? There's this really oh man, I can't remember the show, but this guy, he always did that to deter like hunters and stuff. God, what was it called? And it was like a documentary type deal. Man, I can't remember.
Well, I mean, it
might have just been Bugs Bunny.
Well, whenever the Texan Army, when they won their independence from Mexico, whenever they found
Santa Anna,
he was dressed as a woman.
Was he? I thought
he
was. I thought he was just dressed as like a regular soldier.
They caught him wearing a woman's dress, and they put him in a cage and they carried him through the streets dressed as a woman. So I'm like that, and that's why that made me kind of like, I'm like, man, that historically sounds awfully familiar. And,
you're just letting me ramble about the Bugs Bunny thing and not even chiming in. You're a douchebag.
Well, how many times have I sat here and gone off on a tangent, and you've been over there typing, and you're like, oh, well, here's the facts, like, so suck it up, Buttercup. But let me see here. Susan Berman,
Well, that's because
Morris
I
Black.
want you to feel that you actually know what you're actually talking about.
Well, I was extending you.
Most of the time, it's hey, you're right. It's this, but let me add in a little bit of stuff and everything. I'm just gonna die down a little bit right now.
You need to get closer to your microphone, sir, because you were trailing off there. But it's okay because
I was trailing off for
you were shrinking in your confidence.
Yeah, it was just totally gone right there.
No, you know what? Okay, I'll take that one. I'll own that one. But like most of the people that we profile on this show, I mean, this guy seriously. I mean, he had too high of an opinion of himself. He viewed himself as untouchable. Obviously, he was getting caught left and right.
Now, on the untouchable stuff, that is given into the money. A lot of people that do actually have a lot of money think they can get away with anything.
Yeah.
So, it really is one of those things to where if I had $50 million,
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want. If I find a woman attracted, she should be attracting me for that $50 million and not my actual attitude.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
Of course, it also goes out to that meme that I found, and it was this hot, beautiful 6-foot woman. Of course, she was in heels, and the person that she was with was probably around 4 to 5 feet tall.
Now, I'm not saying that I would become like this arrogant prick. If I was a multimillionaire, though, I would keep probably the biggest shark lawyer that I could find in either the Metroplex or the Houston area. And I would keep them on retainer specifically for the purposes that if anybody pissed me off, I would drag them into court, and I would basically own everything that they ever dreamed imaginable, just to make their lives miserable. But they would, and to quantify that, I wouldn't do it out of just sheer boredom. No, it would be like, you have absolutely wronged me, and now you are going to feel the retribution. That's all that would be. But it wouldn't be me going out committing murders and then thinking, oh, I'm just going to hire this badass lawyer and I'm going to get away with it. No, God, no, seriously? Because I still have to look myself in the mirror at night. And I just, despite what some people in this world might try to make you believe about me, I am not that big of a prick.
I don't know. There's certain days that I just question that. You say that you're not a horrible person. It's like saying that you're not a horrible person, but everybody around you is like, are you shitting me? You're a shit pump. But in all reality, you're a nice person. I wanted to use that word, okay?
That's why I'm giving you this slow applause, because you have managed to move that word and inject it into the conversation.
Yes.
So, yeah.
It took me 2 episodes.
And you did it. And you did it with a respectable amount of contextual cohesion. So very well done, sir.
I feel good about myself.
Good. You should.
I feel good.
Good job.
But yeah, this guy was just one of those, I'm rich, I should be able to get away with anything.
So, on the theme of that, me being a shit pump, giving you the congratulatory, accolades that you're due. Now, tonight, when you go home and you rub one out into your lucky sock, you won't have to cry because you've accomplished something today.
It's too worn out. I gotta get a new sock. That reminds me, I gotta go to Walmart right before it's kind of worn out.
You have reached the portion of tonight's episode
where kids should not listen.
You have reached the roasting part of the episode.
Yes.
Where the hosts seemingly turn on each other.
I think we should do that at least every once in a while. Well, we do it anyway, so we can't really say, oh, on this episode at this time frame, we got to roast each other. No, we will eventually do it.
No, because then at that point, people start fast-forwarding to that particular timestamp just to get it. No, no, no. We want you to enjoy our content.
Find out about some of these shitbags or shit
Shit
bumps.
bumps, yeah.
God, I heard that off of a Cleared Hot podcast, and it was a Canadian chick that said it, and Andy was right. That's one of the vocabulary that should be going into somebody's sentences on a daily basis.
You know, when you texted me that, you were like, "Shit bump, I'm gonna start using that on the show." I was like,
No, it wasn't just on the show. It's just
right,
in
just
life.
in general life. Okay, so the show Trailer Park Boys, the super of the trailer park, I cannot remember his name off the top of my head. The actor who played him is dead now, but he would always he'd always use the word shit in like it's a shit hawk or it's a
I guess
shit
that's a
heel or
Canadian
shit
thing.
sandwich. I think it might be a Canadian thing. I'm not entirely sure.
Because Australian and English
Australians
have
use the
used
words
the
cunt and twat and
Yeah.
no, I get that, but yeah, I
And
think
it's
that
a
might
different.
be just.
It's almost like our fuck. It really is.
It is.
It is because we have a different vernacular for fuck, like a different vernacular for cunt in Australia. Because you could be a sweet cunt, or you could just be a borderline cunt. Or
Yeah.
I mean, it just rolls.
Or Carl Urban, aka
And
Billy
I'm so
Butcher
pissed.
in the boys,
use
like,
that-
oh, isn't it the invisible cunt? Yeah.
And working with some British cooks, they would do the cunt thing all the time. And
What I love
I've
about the
gotten-
Brits is that they use terms like fuck all
or wanker.
or wanker.
Yeah.
Wanker, that is an absolute gem right there because it's not completely and totally offensive. I mean, you could use the word wanker here contextually. And it would be just derogatory as hell, but people will accept that a whole lot more in this country as opposed to you saying, quit being such a cunt.
You know what's really strange is I forget who it was, but he was on a British radio show, and they were talking about language and everything, and he goes, "Yeah," and he let the word "fuck" slip out of his mouth, and the radio host didn't say anything, but when he said "pissed," he had to go. It was like, "Oh, I'm sorry for that foul language that we had." I was like, "That set it off? Really?" It just goes to show what kind of different culture
It is.
And I was talking to a Norwegian chick. Her husband was, I think I said this. Her husband was down here for training for pilot training, and I was looking through my phone to show her a couple of stuff off the podcast and a lot of some other stuff. And I was just like, porn. And she was like, I don't get Americans' hatred for porn. I was like, what? It's like, you got to understand, Origin has the Amsterdam to where we have the red light district. I was like, oh yeah, I know the red light district. And it's just, they have nudity in their commercials.
Yeah, the European culture, as far as like their telecommunications is concerned, TV, I mean, they have allowances for nudity, and we're talking about full frontal.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
or
I've seen some of the
topless.
commercials.
Yeah, and to them it's mainstream. They've normalized it. Where here, it's more of a. I mean, it's still considered a lot of taboo, and it's still considered a lot of times inappropriate. Okay, so for example, and I know we're getting off base here, and I think we've
finished
wrapped
the
up Robert Durst,
episode, and we're not going to be able to do this with our next episode because we're actually doing an interview.
yeah.
So
But
this will be
you
fun
remember
one.
the show Stargate SG-1?
Yeah,
Okay, when it was on Sci-Fi Channel and everything like that, right?
yeah, I still watch it.
Right. Well, if you go to Netflix and you watch it now, there's actually nudity in that show.
Yeah, I think that's because the first 2 seasons were Showtime.
No.
Yeah,
Was it?
first 2 seasons were on Showtime, and then Sci-Fi picked it up.
Yeah, but even the Sci-Fi, the episodes that were supposed to be on Sci-Fi, on Netflix, there are scenes where there is nudity.
Yeah, it was the first 2 seasons.
I know the first 2 seasons. I'm seeing, a lot of, I'm seeing topless scenes.
We can get Kai.
But that struck me as,
And it was the first episode.
right, with the I cannot remember his name. Daniel's wife.
Yeah.
She was stripped down by Ra, not Ra, but one of the other gods, right? Yeah. When I saw that scene, I was like, I don't remember this.
Oh, I remember it because I watched the first season when it was on Showdown.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't get. Okay, for those of us who did not have the premium channels growing up,
I didn't have it either. It was free for that month and it came up.
Oh, well, okay, well that makes sense. But I was like, okay, and I'm just like, okay, because it really kind of made it like kind of a new show for me, because I'm like sitting there going, what other things did network TV cut out of it, and I'm just like, and it's not that the nudity makes a show more intriguing. That's like, I got hooked on the show Outlander. Outlander is obviously, it's a Starz network show, a Starz channel show. So I mean, it's premium. It's a cable show. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have more liberties. There is an incredible amount of nudity in that show. And I'm like, okay, and
That was the whole reason why I watched Spartan for the first couple of
Spartacus or whatever.
Because all it was blood and tit and ass.
Yeah, see, but like, and this is where you're going to hear a lot of people like.
But it was a good
I
show.
could almost hear Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it's almost as if 1,000 voices cried out, and then suddenly there was silence. I can't stand Game of Thrones. I think I made it about 3/4 of the way through the first episode, and anytime you saw anything about that show, it was about the amount of nudity in that show, and I'm like, there's got to be. I mean, and I know that the novel is that the novels that the show was based off of. Great series of books. But I think the producers went so heavy towards the nudity side of it. I think that it really kind of like that's kind of what the show became, was just this huge 8-season long softcore porn that was built around dragons.
Well, have you ever seen the show Banshee?
Yeah. I started watching that because it's on HBO Max. The entire series is, and Tony Starr, the guy that plays the main character in the show,
Who's
plays
Homelander.
Yeah, he plays Homelander in The Boys, and that's the only reason why I started watching it, because I was like, oh, well, cool, because I like his portrayal of Homelander, and I'm like, what other stuff has he been in? And I follow his Instagram account, and he was talking about Banshee being on HBO Max, and I was like, oh, cool. So I started watching.
Dude, it's the second episode, and it's not because of the nudity or anything.
Yeah.
It was just he prison beat that motherfucker.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
You talking about the gangster?
No, it wasn't the gangster.
Or the
It was the MMA fighter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he prison beat him.
Yeah.
And he made sure that he would never do MMA ever again.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know. It's definitely I don't know. It's definitely one of those things where we we can. I mean, we could have this debate. This is one of these things that we not necessarily debate, but we can have a discussion about it ad nauseum. But I mean, the differences between American culture.
That was another thing.
And that might be a good episode. That might be a good topic for what
we
the
could
hell.
do that. We could do that for Sunday's episode, and what we could do is we can do the interview. I can put it up as fast as possible, and Sunday's episode we get a bonus episode, because I realized that while saying that Sunday that we were gonna do a if we have an interview with somebody, we're gonna put it up as fast as possible to help that person out, whatever stuff they have, and then we'll still. I mean, we could do the actual Sunday's show Friday.
Yeah.
Get it recorded on Friday and then put it on Sunday. You want to do it that way?
Yeah.
Because this won't happen until Saturday, anyways. So.
But yeah, I'm trying to see here. Hold on just a second. Let me look on my phone here.
Is it sad that most of the time your phone's faster than the actual computers that you use?
Well, and it's funny because you would think that when you open up, like, how Chrome is, if you got Chrome synced, that you can just resume on different devices where you were browsing before. Safari's not so much that way. And I
What do you mean? Because you press the ad and you can go to another page.
yeah, you can. But, like, if I've got a page that had already been pulled up on my phone, it's not pulled up on my iPad.
You can AirDrop it.
Yeah, you can, but how like Chrome, you can, your pages are open
You know what's really
across
strange
devices.
though, and I found out that if I have my phone up and I'm looking at something,
Mm-hmm.
and because of my Mac, I can go ahead and click it on my Mac and it goes straight through it.
Yeah, because you can send it there. But
No, it automatically pops
well,
up.
yeah, because I guess with the Mac OS, yeah, but as
Yeah,
far
it
as
automatically pops up.
the iOS, it doesn't work.
Like
that
if
way.
I'm doing messages or something like that,
Yeah.
it'll automatically pop up on my phone.
But the interview that David was talking about is going to be Kurt Schwab. He is a Republican gubernatorial candidate for the state of Texas. We're going to have him on the show.
Oh, how'd you like that interview with Adam West? I still gotta look at the full interview with Alan West
Yeah,
because he's a contender
yeah,
too,
because
and
Colonel Alan West
Yeah.
moved to the state of Texas, and he's dropped his hat into the ring.
and he made some valid points.
Yeah,
I'm so glad that popped up. 'Cause
Yeah.
it give me some more.
but
ammunition.
I mean, we're gonna try to bring a lot of current event type. I mean, some of the we've kind of prided ourselves as far as staying away from episodes solely based on politics.
Yeah, we're gonna make I made like probably about 2 to 3 episodes on just basically politics.
Yeah, but what we're going to do, specifically as it relates to this election cycle for the state of Texas, because obviously we've got a lot of dog in the hunt here because we live here, and elections, they do have consequences. So I mean, if I'm going to endorse, or if we as an entity, as Angry Meat Production, is going to endorse a specific candidate, I want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence.
Well, I look at it this way. I'm gonna put all of them on notice because I'm with a couple of other people that I listen to that I think all politicians would be should be defunded, but because they make way too much money.
They do, and one of the things that I think needs to happen is that whenever you serve your 2 terms in Congress, I think there needs to be term limits in Congress. But when you serve out your 2 terms, you don't get your congressional paycheck for life. No, you return to civilian service.
I think it's a little bit longer than that. I think you had like 10 years.
No, it's not.
It's not.
You could be a one and done, and you'll collect a congressional paycheck or a legislative paycheck for the rest of your life. And I think that if we eliminated that, we could save our country a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you go into public service, you don't do it for the money. You do it for the betterment of your constituency, and that's it. So, I mean, I think that we need to reintroduce term limits, and Ted Cruz, I believe, has introduced a bill on more than one occasion to put term limits back into place in Washington.
Of course, he's also trying to get rid of the IRS too.
And we can do a show around that. But like you and I discussed the other day when we were lining out our questions.
Yeah, and also we could do one instead of doing like it's just crazy politicians.
Yeah, we can, but that has the potential for becoming a dangerously long episode.
Well, if we do it to the point where what actual politicians say, like that.
Or if we're going to do an episode like that, we need to put a clock, and we do like lightning round where
Well, we can do
politicians
it-
get 5 minutes apiece.
Well, we can do it. We can do it like Fast Fridays.
Yeah, we can.
Do
But,
it 5 minutes.
But as far as
this episode of Psychos
Kurt
and
Schwab,
Psychos.
yeah. Well, as far as our interview coming up, be on the lookout for that episode. That's we're
We're gonna do the interview on Wednesday. I'll probably have it up probably about Thursday.
Okay, yeah. So be on the lookout for that. And this is one of these topics, and I know that we're cutting it off because of time here, but when we interview political candidates, regardless of what side of the aisle that they're on, we want you, our listeners, our fans, our super fans, we're looking at you, Maria, get engaged. Sound off, because while I deplore the anonymity that a keyboard and a computer screen gives you, this is an open forum. This is an opportunity for you, the listener.
As long as you don't do any kind of
don't be derogatory. Don't be disparaging. If you're going to be a part of the don't be a shit pump. If you're going to be part of the discussion, bring something substantive. Bring something that's going to help advance the discussion as opposed to stalling it out, because I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste David's time, and he doesn't want to do, and neither one of us want to waste your time addressing something that's not going to be productive or constructive as it relates to the advancement of that discussion or that debate.
And this is the last thing when we'll sign off, is I don't want our show to be politically entertaining.
No, it's not talk
changes,
radio.
Because like political comedians, if they don't have that guy that's in office, they're not a comedian anymore half the time.
Yeah, Johnny Carson said it, is that like talk show hosts, they're talk show hosts, they're entertainers. And the second that they start commenting on politics and they start making political satire, they stop being entertainers and they become commentators. And that's something that we don't want to be. We don't want to be a commentator. We're here for informational purposes. We're here for entertainment, and we don't want to become a cable news network. That's not what we're here for. That's not what this show is garnered around. That's not what we're geared for. But having said all that, be on the lookout for these upcoming interviews. Smash that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, get involved with the comment section on YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. Go ahead and give us a follow, leave some reviews.
5 stars. We don't take anything less.
Yeah, nothing less than 5 stars. Get involved with our Patreon.
Because you can tell us how much of a shit pumps we are, and still give us 5 stars.
Yeah, exactly. Get involved with our Twitter account at AngryMeProduction1 on Twitter. Give us a follow on our Instagram account. Basically, look for all of our social media accounts. Get involved with us as humanly possible. But until then, I'm Johnny Skelton.
I'm David Dickerman, and this is Psychos and Sociopaths.
See y'all next week.
Thank you.